I'm going to be creating a video and fiction montage with a voice-over based on my friend that died from taking drugs. And stop laughing. Yeah, the point of it is to raise awareness from the dangers, and I'm going to do a few surveys targeting people my age, asking them if they've ever taken drugs, and if they've ever tested drugs, like the drugs that they've taken, because I feel like most people haven't, and that's something I wanted to raise awareness about. And I've looked at a few other examples of video montages that are similar to what I want to do. So yeah, and I'm going to include a news broadcast at the end of my video. And I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I will at some point.
So, what the piece that you're writing, will it be a non-fiction piece, so like a memoir?
It's not a very nice idea, but my friend was actually pregnant at the time, so I was going to do it through where the unborn baby is speaking the story.
Oh wow!
So
yeah, it's a kind of fictional piece.
Yeah, then. But so it is, but it isn't at the same time.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So you're basing it on a historical fact.
Yeah.
But you're writing it under the genre of fiction.
Yeah.
Literary genre of fiction.
Yeah.
There's a writer called David Peace that does exactly that with his writing. He researches tons and tons and tons into a particular person or era. So he wrote about the miners' strike, but then what he does is he gets inside the head, because we don't know what's going on inside the people's heads. So that's where he sort of takes over. He fills in the gaps that the newspapers can't do.
Yeah.
That the documentaries can't give us. What's behind those elements. He did the same with a football manager called Brian Clough. He did the same with the people that were involved in the investigation into the Yorkshire Ripper during the sort of 70s, early 80s. So there's a sort of, it's like Truman Capote as well. You remember Truman Capote, where he wrote about a real life murder, but he wrote it almost like a novel.
Yeah.
So that might be stuff that you might, even though it might not be your style, that's the world that you're following in the footsteps of.
Yeah.
So you might want to refer to that in your research.
Okay.
Okay, I'll write all that. Okay, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, so obviously I'll use the voiceover of the unborn baby, and I've written in my proposal about the shock factor, because I think that needs to be the main thing when you're talking about drug deaths and you're trying to get through to teenagers. It needs to be the reality of it needs to be shocking, because I could just tell the story, but it's more upsetting if it's with I'm not trying to upset people, but
no, you said the thing that you're raising awareness.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really intelligent thing to say. That's a good thing. That ticks the why is it important box. It's important because you're raising awareness. So that's brilliant. You've actually articulated that. It's also, don't forget, it's important to you as well.
Yeah.
Why is it important to you? You tell me why it's important to you.
Because I feel I don't know, if it was to me that would have died, I would want my friends to try and stop it from happening to other people. And I think if at least one person who's thinking about doing drugs at 14 or whatever thinks, oh no, actually someone died at 17, do you know what I mean? And if they watch it and they actually think even if one person does it, then it's not for nothing. And I think for me, that's why I'm putting my effort into this, because it's all very well me writing a story or something, but this could actually help people.
Yeah.
So I want to use that, use my abilities to actually help.
Use your abilities. I think that's very important that you should focus on that, because that you have got a talent that many people haven't, and so you will be able to write this in a way that will impact on people, and they will understand it, because it's coming from someone that A, has lived through it, B, continues to live through it, but C, has got the ability to write, in a way that affects a reader. Okay, so that's something you must make sure you put into your research, and also, you know, as part of your pack really. Don't underestimate the fact that through your writing and your development of your writing, you have the ability to touch people out there that probably feel alone, might not understand that other people are going through these emotions, and then they pick your book up, your work. Okay, this is going to be an example of what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, you are going to be a writer. You are going to raise awareness, but you're going to change people's lives. You've got that kind of talent, all right? So can you make sure that you write about that?
Yeah.
All right? Okay, good. Carry on.
Like with research side of things, I looked at the government statistics page, and I think it was something like, I can't remember exactly, but there was like a statistic of like 11-year-olds like drugs wise, and I think that really shocked me, because I thought, just when I started this project, I thought I'd target like 15 to maybe 18, but then I realised that it needs to go a lot lower than that. So obviously through that research, then I found out more, and because I'll be maybe targeting 11-year-olds, I'll probably have to change language a little bit. Obviously they're not really young.
Well, if you're talking from the perspective of a baby, actually that's a really good idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that baby's not going to talk like someone from Margate.
Yeah.
Because it's you know, it's a newborn thing. You're inventing a voice. It's up to you how that baby thinks and speaks to a certain degree. You've got to make it believable. That's going to be the hardest part of your story, making it believable. But it's clever because you will hopefully appeal to a younger audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, right, for this course, that's brilliant, because it's not just about your product, it's about the whole package. And the whole package, I really like students that take risks, that push the boat out, that try different things. And even if the first or whatever draft you put into this portfolio doesn't quite manage to do what you want to do, doesn't matter. Because all the research and everything that you've done beforehand and the evaluation you've done subsequent to it, you can still get distinctions for that. All right, so remember that. Product is only 1/4 of this. Okay. But by the sounds of it, it's a very exciting project.
I know how I want it to be, but it's actually getting there. Like I know, because I know exactly how I want it to look. I know what the voice I want it to sound like. I know what music I want in it. Yeah. I just don't know how to make it yet.
Well,
so I'm having to look up like everything to actually make it.
That's brilliant, because you know your trajectory is continuing up, and this is about process. This whole portfolio should be just called the process of a creative person. Yeah. And then the end product is an example of that process being brought together. Yeah. That's exactly what you're doing. I do not expect you to give me work that's publishable. Okay? It probably will be, because you're that talented. But don't worry about that. I will assess the whole package. Alright, so I'm really, I'm loving this, because you're talking about so many things. If you can pull that together, it's going to be great. Go. Carry on. So explain some of the technical requirements of your project to me, because I don't know what a video picture montage is.
It will be like, well, I want it to be like photos flashing, and I'm going to do it like flashing on screen. I was going to do it from like baby photos of my friend up to the last photo that I took of her. And I was talking to Celia about it, and she suggested perhaps doing like Luna in colour to start with, and then slowly going into black and white towards the end. So I was asking her, because obviously she knows what she's doing, so she's given me some advice with like editing the photos, because sort of I was just going to do them normally, I wasn't actually going to edit them. So yeah, I'm going to have them like flashing on screen with the occasional video where like the music and voiceover will stop. So then you can, because I've got loads of videos of my friend like partying and stuff, and I wanted them to be on their own. So do you know what I mean? Like it cuts up the actual video, and yeah, and then I was going to end it with like quite abruptly with just a news broadcast, like reading the story of what happened.
So for those technical things, you'll be using Photoshop?
Yeah, and there was another program, I think it's Adobe something that Celia was talking about, and I'll probably have to use obviously like yeah, and I'll have to use the studio and get someone with a newscaster's voice to record it down there.
Yeah, that's doable.
Because I don't want it to sound like, I know it's going to be perfect, but I don't want it to be like rubbish. I want it to sound quite professional. I don't want it to just sound like it was recorded at college.
Well, we've got radio studio.
Yeah, I want it to be. I want it to be good.
Have a listen and talk to Ollie, because he's really mastered it down there now. So he might be able to be useful. We like collaboration as well on this course.
I don't want him reading my story.
No, not really.
He just knows how to like record audio and stuff. He's got really good at it.
He could be your producer if he's got time. He's whacking through his portfolio, so he should have time. Other than that, we've obviously got Simon, who could help you.
Lauren.
Do you want? If you want an adult voice, or do you want? You're going to get a student voice to do it.
I don't really know. Yeah.
It's a student voice with like the fact that she's young.
It needs to be quite serious. Like, I'm quite aware of it being a serious subject, and I don't want to choose someone that's going to muck around. Because I would muck around if someone asked me to do it. So.
Well, I could do a version for it for you if you wanted me to. I mean, I've not got a particularly great voice. I could do a version for you, and I could try and sound like someone doing a podcast.
Thank you.
More like a kids' entertainer, I think. So have you written down about the technical stuff on your sheet?
Would it be on here?
You should have. Here you go.
Oh,
go
no.
on.
Oh, wait.
Just concentrating on that form. Technical requirements. There you go. I will need to access the studio in order to be able to record the studio, blah, blah, blah. So you need to add the software to that bit. Okay? All the software that you will possibly use or might need to explore in order for you to get. So that goes from a camera, a video, and then the software like Photoshop, InDesign, Premiere. So you need to list that in there as well. Okay? Good. So your role will be producing and directing the video montage and news broadcast, as well as writing and casting the voiceover. Great. That's quite a lot of roles. I think you're alright with that. Cheese roll. Target audience. I like the fact that you said it was 16, but then you changed it to a younger, haven't you? So yeah, good. You might want to just articulate that somewhere. The way you'd articulate it just a minute ago was perfect. To make sure it's in there.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Especially your anecdotal way of saying it. You know, I read this, I did this. It was a shock to me, so that's made me want to do it for these younger people. I'm aware of the fact that I need to raise awareness from, parents as well. Parents that have got kids and they just don't know what to do with them because they're into drugs already. It's frightening. It's very scary. Right, you walk me through your evaluation, the last section.
Well, I said that I was going to be present for all sessions, so that's starting from today.
I'm sure you were doing research in Amsterdam, weren't you?
Because I know from the last, what's the word, project that we did, because I missed a few sessions, that I could actually tell where I'd missed stuff out that other people knew. So like sound wise, I probably would have been able to do it on my own with this project if I'd actually been in college. But yeah. And
that's not really evaluating. That's I suppose
that's
that is
when I
evaluating your past.
Yeah, that's saying like for this evaluation, like I know what I'm going to do.
Okay, that's very honest of you.
And I'm probably going to be more like Ellie and actually just evaluate everything.
She's very good.
I'm just because I've never done evaluating before. I didn't do it.
I love it. I love
evaluating.
evaluating.
Kind of come to it. Ellie's very much like me. The realisation is like she looked around and went, that lot of getting better marks than me, I need to be doing that. And she just went up a gear on the project for the wall.
Yeah.
And she nailed it. Same as Michaela did the same thing. She kind of was in a similar situation, needed just to be doing a little bit more.
Yeah.
So she has. And your evaluation of the walk, I told you, didn't I, was distinction work. And it's exactly what I said to you, and you just articulated. It's because there were missing bits. You weren't doing that, and that's the only reason why you didn't get a straight across the board distinction. Because your work is always of a very high quality writing. I can't knock your writing. I can give you some help, but the only thing that I can say to you is, how did you come to do this? You've got to recognise the skills that you've got and that you're learning and that you're developing in order for us to see that you're adhering to this academic course.
Yeah.
I've been teaching you from the start to be a better writer. You know, you're a great student to work with because there's already talent there. I'm just tweaking it, but I'm telling you mostly of what you're doing. So the imagery you're using, the dialogue, your use of dialogue is great. Your use of characterisation is really in depth. And also your understanding of the fact that characterisation has an effect on word choice, has an effect on the language in the whole piece, even to the point where you use colloquialisms and slang. You see, I just used a load of words there that you don't.
Yeah.
And you started to a little bit more. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Even your sentence structure can be affected by your characterisation. You know, short, sharp things because they're a young person who just talks monosyllabically or hasn't got the vocab. Your writing does that. You know, you're demonstrating it, and now I need you to go, oh, that's what I did.
I've just never had to evaluate, so that's something I'm trying to I'm just going overboard now.
Because this course is more like a university degree than it is a GCSE.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to be doing. I want you. In Australia, they teach university degrees from 16 onwards, and they teach something called stylistics, and that's what I try and do here. You're kind of using all these different techniques, but you need to understand why we use them and how we affect our readers or our viewers. So it's a smaller step. If you do decide to go to university at any point, you know, this whole project and next year, you'll go, oh right, it's a breeze going to university. So it's a big step from school, smaller step to uni.
Yeah.
Cool. Don't forget to do all your referencing. Have you got any questions?
No, I'm alright.
I think you've done really, really well there. That's
Thanks.
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Have you got any other worries or questions?
Don't zoom in on me.
I haven't.
Not really, no.
Okay. So the only thing that I would, as far as the writing is concerned, what are your influences for your writing, and how is it that you're going to produce this piece of writing that's obviously only part of the whole piece, but what is it?
Are you asking me now?
Yeah, the style.
Oh. There's a line I'm using as the opening line, and I got that from this book that I read when I was really young. It was called My Sister Lives on the Mantelpiece. And I remember seeing it on the shelf, and I was like, I wonder what that's about, and I picked it up. Because that's like a really bizarre thing, and I was thinking, because I'm using the baby's voice, I can take advantage of that. So I was going to do the first line as something like my mummy died before I was born, because then that's something that people would think, like, really? Like, what's that about? Do you know what I mean? So I drew that from the story that I read before.
It's also a little bit like, there was, you know, a little bit of journalism in there, because it's the hook.
Yeah.
It's immediately grab your audience, so there might be something you want to reflect on, but because of the audience, it's very similar. You need to grab them, pull them in, intrigue them. So, great. I mean, talking about that is wonderful. Anything else?
I haven't really thought too much about the whole thing I'm going to write, because I don't know how long it's going to have to last. So I'm going to look at other influences and stuff and see if there's anything that's actually out there at the moment. Because I did actually buy a book that this mum wrote, because her daughter died from taking MD, so I thought I'd read the book. So I'm going to look into that, because I've got it at home. because there's probably some stuff I can draw from that. Like it's not exactly the same thing, but
That's fine. Yeah, you can look up books about the style of writing you want, but equally you can look up books and other resources about the theme.
yeah,
As long as we see a range of sources, which you've already identified by talking about government research, talking about that affecting your target audience, other research that you're going to look into to do with the technical side of things, that's all brilliant. And you've done the primary, haven't you? So you've looked into that. So you've already done pretty good range. I would just make sure that you do a little bit on the writing techniques as well. Just a bit of research into that, just to recognise what it is you're doing and where your book, your idea sits within the world of those kind of stories.
yeah.
Right. Anything else?
No.
I think you talked about that, target audience, playing your role, done that. You're going to add stuff about you being important